Perfect. So hi, everyone. Welcome to the echoAR workshop. Today, we're going to talk about augmented reality, virtual reality, and a lot of exciting demos of these technologies and 3D applications in general. Really excited to be here. Hope you're all safe and well wherever you are. Please feel free to ask any questions in the chat. This should be as interactive as it can. What we're going to do today is going to go through a few concepts in augmented and virtual reality, talk a little bit. Then I'm going to share a few technical demos on how to use echoAR to build applications really, really quickly, if it's for mobile or web or Unity. And then we're going to do some coding examples as well. And again, ask any questions that you want throughout the workshop. Super happy to sponsor the hackathon. So definitely take advantage of our premium tier offering. We basically provide the hackathon organizers with the link that will allow you to get our premium product for free. So definitely check that out. And you can always register for free on our website as well. We are happy to announce that we're sponsoring one of the prizes in the hackathon. So definitely, if you build an augmented reality or virtual reality application with echoAR, you're going to be eligible for that award. So definitely check that out. It's a really cool sponsored challenge that will incentivize you to build something in augmented or virtual reality. So let's start. We're echoAR. It's a cloud platform for augmented and virtual reality apps. We basically provide tools and network infrastructure for developers and companies who want to build AR/VR applications at scale. I'll start by saying hello. My name is Alon. I'm the founder of echoAR. I did my master's at computer science at Columbia University here in New York. I did my undergrad in computer science, electrical engineering, specializing in AR, VR, and human-computer interaction, and a big believer in this space. Obviously, a certified nerd by this point. So now that we start, I wanted to level set a little bit. You've probably heard these terms, augmented reality, virtual reality, but it's a level set here that everyone is on the same page. So virtual reality or VR is where everything around you is digital. Everything around you is a digital construct. Everything you see is a computer-generated imagery. Your vision is fully occluded, so you can't see the real world. Everything around you is in 3D, and basically your vision is occluded through a headset or some sensory machine that basically covers your ears, covers your eyes, as opposed to augmented reality, in which or AR, in which we can still see the real world. We are able to interact with the surrounding environment, but the surrounding environment is overlaid with 3D content and CGI construct, basically adding digital content to the real world. You're looking through the world through either an optical see-through, basically like glasses or a headset that allows you to see the world, or through a camera see-through, for example, through a phone camera or a tablet. And you're basically seeing the real world with extra digital content on top of it. A really cool example for that is the amazing movie, classic American staple, Space Jam. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. It's where Michael Jordan transports himself into Looney Town. That's an amazing example of VR. Everything around Jordan is a cartoon and nothing is real. And he's able to interact with bugs and all the other Looney Tunes to basically engage them in a, again, digital environment that is all cartoonish. As opposed to what happens later in the movie, in which we have Bugs Bunny and Looney Town coming to us. People are basically interacting with digital monsters in the real world, right? Like we have Bill Murray playing basketball with Bugs, and we have Looney Town coming to us, as opposed to what we have in VR, that we're going to Looney Town. Real-world examples of this are a little more well-known. For example, Pokemon Go. You've probably seen a lot of people running around, playing around with digital monsters that are not actually there, but they were playing with them in their real environment. As opposed to an example of VR, like Beat Saber, in which people are playing around with a music-oriented game, slashing cubes that are not actually there in a fully digital environment. Any questions so far about what's AR, what's VR, how they're different? Hope that's clear. If there are, please feel free to write them in the chat. Another example of augmented reality is something that's really close to my heart. That was my thesis project back at Columbia University. We took CT and MRI, 2D scans, converted into 3D, and then put them on these smart glasses for a physician to wear called HoloLens by Microsoft. That was an amazing experience. I would scrub into surgery as an engineer, give this headset to a physician who would be able to see the inside of the patient while they're doing the surgery. They were able to basically get this 3D map of the patient's anatomy and then navigate a catheter through their body without actually, having the real way to look inside the patient. So that was a fantastic, fantastic example of augmented reality that really, really changed the way a surgery is being performed. The problem is that I had to do something that I really, really hate, and that's waking up early in the morning. I had to go to the hospital every day at 6 a.m. to swap a heart for an aorta, for a lung, basically swap that 3D content and match it with the patient that we have on the table. And that process was so frustrating. As a developer, as a techie, all I wanted to do is two things: manage 3D assets and deliver them to an AR device. And that process could have been established by a non-techie, right? Like someone in the hospital could drag and drop a 3D model. I don't have to be that involved. I already built the application. And we started talking to other developers who are building augmented applications in healthcare, but also in retail, in shopping, in games, in data visualization. And they all said the same thing. There is no easy way to manage and deliver 3D data. But wait, if you think about it, companies have solved this problem for 2D data, right? In web and mobile. You don't need to be a web developer to update a blog post. Companies like Heroku created this cloud platform for web, allowing you to build really scalable websites really quickly. Later, companies like Firebase and Parse created the same thing for mobile applications, where mobile applications were all the rage. And now we have this new technology that has AR, VR, MR, XR, immersive, call it whatever, with a new type of content. Instead of videos and images, we have 3D. And the question has to be asked, who's going to build that cloud platform for that content? And you've guessed it, that's us, echoAR. We are that cloud platform for augmented virtual reality apps, providing developers with tools and network infrastructure to quickly build and deploy 3D applications. And again, if you think about it, you don't need to be a web developer to update a blog post. You just drag and drop an image or video, suddenly that appears on web and mobile. And if I'm in New York, California, and we're both watching an episode on Netflix, we automatically get the best streaming experience. We've translated these concepts into augmented reality, providing you a way to manage and deliver 3D data and get the best 3D streaming experience. And what's interesting here, and we'll see it later in the demos, that this connection is actually bi-directional, right? So as opposed to what we had in web and mobile, you can't move an image or a video on a website, but you can definitely move a virtual couch across the room, and that needs to be updated on the cloud. So every 3D model needs to be individually connected to the cloud. So that's basically what we've built, this 3D first content management system and delivery network that allows developers to build applications that scale. As I mentioned, you can go to our website to register for free, or use the link that was shared by your hackathon organizers to basically get free premium access to our service. So definitely do that and check that out. Perfect. So I'm going to stop here if there's no more questions, and then I'm going to transition into a demo. So if there are any questions, feel free to write them down in the chat. So what you see right here on the screen, on the left, you're going to see our content management. On the right, you see my phone. After you register for our platform, you're going to get an automatic email with an API key, and you're going to get redirected here to our console. I'm going to start with something super simple. I'm going to use this add to cloud interface to upload a fan favorite 3D model of the Empire State. We're a New York-based company, so this building is definitely a hallmark of New York icons. There's a bunch of different 3D models that we allow you to use for free that we fetch from other content aggregators. You can also search for any 3D model that you want for free to use right here. For now, I'm going to upload the Empire State. What we do is that we take that 3D model that is also suited for 3D printing. We convert it, compress it, and build it so we'll work on Android, iOS, magically Polens, you name it, and put it on our cloud. Once that's done, I'm going to open a sample app right here. But honestly, most developers have their own app, and they will stream the data from the cloud to the device. The camera will recognize the floor once the data is being downloaded. You'll see that the camera itself is just the only thing that happens. The app itself is super, super small. It's just the camera, but there you go. I was able to stream the Empire State here in my apartment. I can walk around and interact with it. Super, super simple. You can get this app right here in the downloads menu. Just download that application for Android if you'd like. And later we'll see how you can build that application yourself. Perfect. So we have the Empire State here in my apartment, but let's say I want to switch it to something else. So instead of rebuilding the application, instead of doing anything technical, I'm going to go back here, delete the previous entry, and upload something else. Instead of Empire State, let's choose this building, for example, a different New York hallmark, an apartment building. Uploading it to our cloud. Again, the same process happens. We built, store, and convert it so it will work on any device. Once that's done, I'm going to open the exact same app. So again, the app is super, super small. All it has is just a camera. the content is not really there. The content is on the cloud. When I instantiate it, bam, suddenly you see the same building in front of you, and you are able to interact with it the same way you had earlier, but the content was swapped. Perfect. So we saw a cool mobile example. Let's take it a step further. I mentioned that we're cross-platform. You can do it on any platform. So I'm going to show you a web example now. For example, let's say you want to have something that you don't want people to install an app. You want them to go to a website. No worries. You can go to our website/WebXR. It will stream the data from the cloud to the browser instead of the app, and you'll be able to see the same 3D model really, really easily. So there you go. For example, we work with an art agency that they had people randomly walk into an art gallery, and they wanted them to see 3D models flying around them. But it made no sense to have an app because you don't expect people who would just randomly walk in to start downloading an app. So they could just open their browser and have that in the browser. So we saw an example of mobile. We saw an example of web. We have a question here. Do we need to allow camera access to be able to see the screen? You mean to allow camera access to see my screen or this screen? Make sure you're here in this chat. You're just specifically pointed at the presentation that I'm presenting instead of looking at the person. So just click on the people, but then just make sure that you're looking at the slides. I hope that helps. If not, just ping us again. So we saw mobile, we saw web. Let's see another web example that is pretty cool that I can share with you all. I am going to open this QR code that you can scan. So everyone, if you have a phone right now, put it in front of the screen, scan this QR code, and you'll be able to see this building in your apartment right now. So scan it the same way I'm doing it. You can also use a direct link that I can share right here. Maybe I'll do that as well. So I'm sharing the link right here. Let's do that. The camera would instantiate. I'll be able to see this 3D model that you see right here, right? Let's see it in AR. Do the same thing that I'm just doing. After we scan this QR code, I'm being redirected to a website. You can still see the floor. I'm moving it around. And bam, no app installation needed. We see this building right here in my apartment. And you can do the same thing with your phones right now with the link that I shared or with just scanning this QR code. So definitely try that out. It's a really, really cool, quick share of the application, of the content that you can share with your friends. So definitely check that out. So up until now, we saw mobile, we saw web. Let's see another example of Unity. That's a game engine a lot of people love to use. And later, we're going to dive into how to use Unity and how to integrate it with your project. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to open this example app in Unity. It's super simple. Again, it's just a camera. It's going to scan the floor, recognizes some surface, and then we're going to see the same building we saw earlier. Again, no surprises there. But what's cool about it, and remember, I mentioned that we can send data bidirectionally. So maybe let's do, let's see. So if you see the building with a blue background, check. There's a button on the left corner called See in AR. Once you and make sure you open this link through your phone, and then that should open. So once you have that Empire State, you can also, that building, we can also change it in real time. For example, I can go here, I can click direction. Let's do direction equals right. Just add some metadata to the content by just clicking this button, and bam, suddenly we see in real time, it starts to animate, it starts to rotate. I can also add things like scale. Let's say I want to scale this up to be twice as big. No worries. All I have to do is add this, bam, suddenly it becomes bigger. And this is another simple example of how you can inject data in real time, continuously add data to the content that you have, the 3D content you have. Now it's like direction and scale. They could be anything. You're only limited by your imagination. Once I delete those, again, obviously it goes back to normal, right? Or like it stops rotating, right? Super simple. So we saw mobile, we saw web, now we saw Unity. And what was interesting about everything that we saw so far is that everything was based on an augmented reality technology called surface detection. The camera would recognize a floor, right? We'll triangulate some surface like a wall or a floor or a table and project the 3D models on top of it. Another technology that we support is image recognition. Basically, the camera recognizes an image. So let's see how that works. So now I'm going to press the same QR code, but I'm going to do, instead of see on the floor, I'm going to see on an image. And now I'm going to scan this QR code instead. You can do that the same way with your phone. Try that. If the previous thing didn't work for you, try this example. This different QR code. Again, just put your phone in front of it, scan it. But the cool thing about what we have right now is now the 3D model will be overlaid on the image, which would be this target, that target image of the QR code instead of the floor. So now I'm going to put this phone in front of the image, and bam, we see the same building, but now overlays that image, right? It overlays my screen because the image is on top of it, but not the floor. So two different applications with AR. We worked with a company, for example, that used those QR codes to put them around town. That was actually a hackathon participant. He would put QR codes around town. Every time you scan them, you see a video on COVID and 3D models of COVID. But at the back end, he would actually monitor how many people are scanning the QR codes and for social distancing. So that was a really, really cool project. So as I mentioned, you can also do video. So what we see here is that you're able to scan this and put in this one works perfect, Radu. So you're able to see the 3D model right here in front of you. Let's add another video. So instead of choosing one of these 3D models, as I mentioned, you can just upload your own files. Let's do that. I'm going to upload, let's do this MP4 file, just an animation. Let's add a custom image now. So instead of using QR codes, let's put an image that we choose. For example, you can do your business card. Then every time someone scans your business card, they're able to see a video of you talking and interacting with the person. So I'm just uploading that. Once that is done, you're going to see a very similar card. Again, now we convert the images and videos, so they'll work in augmented reality. Super simple. So we see a different experience, a different card here. I'm going to scan the same QR code, and again, you can do the same thing if you want to see the video. So I'm going to do that. Let's scan the video. Perfect. Now we're again redirected to a website. But what you're going to see right now, when the camera recognizes the QR code, nothing will happen, right? Because the target now is not the QR code anymore. So let's close that. Let's go to the marker, and then voila, suddenly this marker, this image is being overlaid with the 3D content with that video. And now I'm able to play the video in 3D. Super simple. This marker could be a magazine. It could be, again, your business card. Then you can overlay it with videos or 3D models like we just saw. You can put as any image that you want. Perfect. So we just saw that. Let's close these. Let's close all these tabs. So we have the content right here. Up until now, we saw mobile, we saw web, we saw image detection, we saw image recognition, we saw surface detection. Super cool. What I want to show you now is I want to go through a few other things that we can do with our platform. Another thing that you can do is tag data with locations. For example, I can upload, let's say, this fox, and I can add some location to it. For example, New York, right? Like add an additional data layer to the content. So basically, it will allow you to, for example, build one app that if you open it in New York, it's going to stream the Empire State. But if you open it in, let's say, San Francisco, you're going to get the Golden Gate Bridge. So basically, adding some spatial awareness, adding some spatial information, another metadata on top of that 3D model. So now we have, for example, like this thing that has a target for the location. And again, if you want, you can look at it really quickly. I'm going to share the link here that you can use as well if you want. Again, super easy. So other things that you can do. As I mentioned, you can download our app, our different SDKs, sample code that you can start with, and we're going to dive into that a little bit later once we start doing coding stuff in our GitHub channel. I would definitely advise looking through it. We have a lot of open source examples that you can like literally start building and playing around with. It's super, super useful. But also, if you press this help button, you're able to get directed automatically to our documentation. Our documentation is literally a step-by-step guide to do exactly what I just did so far. So definitely check them out because they will literally allow you to do exactly what I just did and guide you through it. So the same way you can see things in AR or share it with your friends, definitely go through this to play around with the information and play around with how to do these things. We also have a link to our Slack channel in which you can ask team members for support. So definitely register for that, or mail us or give us a tweet. I'm gonna try to help you out. Let's see other things that we have. So you can obviously switch a theme, dark being the default. So play around with that as well. You can manage the data, as I mentioned. We can add metadata to the 3D models, but you can also add global data. So for example, we work with a company who did a scavenger hunt in AR. It was like a crime investigation. You can add data on the 3D models, so like attach them to a scene, say scene equals 5, but you can also have global data that could be established throughout the entire project. What are the scenes? What are the users? Stuff like that. You can manage your payments right here, see some data about your usage, how much bandwidth and storage you're using. And also, again, as I mentioned, if you're going to register through the hackathon, you're going to get this tier for free, our premium tier for free. Let's go to the locations tabs. Here we're able to see content that we've been tagging with locations. For example, remember we put the Fox in New York. So there you go. You have the Fox right here, and you'll be able to see the distribution of content. You're able to see how people are using your content throughout locations. So if a lot of people are streaming that Fox, I'm going to see an influx in the 3D model. So for example, if a lot of people are using it, we'll be able to see it here. You have a question in the chat. What is the cost of the content? So that's our enterprise offering. We've worked with companies who already have applications that we help them build that at scale. This is a different pricing point because then we help them build the application and we create a lot of the interactions with them closely. But again, if you're a developer and you want to build things your own, our premium tier that you get for free is more than enough to start building and doing exactly what I just did today, to play around with the console and build things really, really quickly. Another thing that we have, here you can also manage some of the servers that basically stream your data. When it comes to security, obviously our entire platform is privacy and security first. Be able to add users, make sure that your platform is secure. You can get some insights about your projects. For example, again, how much API calls you've had, how many 3D models that people are using, what are the most popular ones. We just streamed the video, so you can see a spike in the usage. You can monitor the usage of the content. Here we're able to see some history on how people are using your project, monitor users. So if I have a lot of users in the US or a lot of users in Mexico or a lot of users in Europe or Asia or Russia, I'll be able to see that here really easily and get those information about how people are using my applications. In the tutorial section, you're able to see a lot of frequently asked questions. It will direct you mostly to the documentation or a GitHub channel that basically allows you to, again, start building really, really fast, start using the console really easily. One of my favorite pages is the inspiration page that you're going to see right now. This is filled with so many amazing examples of augmented and virtual reality that you can build right now. Some of them were built with echoAR, some were not. For example, the art example that I mentioned was built with Echo, or the murder mystery game, or the project we did with the Verizon 5G. And there's so many other examples here for healthcare and games and internet navigation and training and data visualization and shopping and retail. Remember I talked to you about the tracker for COVID that someone did in a hackathon. We have it here. We have another cool example of a VR app that people did in a previous hackathon, and they basically showed how long COVID can linger on different surfaces in VR. Or another company who did, that was a group of developers who did a companion for you to, in AR, what's your surviving COVID. So definitely check those out. Amazing examples that you can explore. Some do image targets, some do surface detection, but they utilize the full force of echoAR, and I recommend for you to do the same thing. Mohammed is asking, is our free trial exist after the hackathon? Yes. Yeah. We'll stay at least for a month over. And if you want more, definitely just reach out to us, either through our Slack channel from the support, or send us an email. Again, all is accessible here, and we'll happily extend that. So definitely just keep in touch with us, keep using the application, and you're going to keep that premium tier for free. No worries at all. Great question. Perfect. So let's recap so far. So we saw web, mobile, Unity. Now I'm going to show, if there's no other questions, I'm going to show how we can stream data in Unity real fast. And then we're going to transition into a coding example. So this is Unity. It's a game engine that a lot of developers use to build AR/VR applications. It's super straightforward. All you have to do is open a new project in Unity, download our SDK right here. So just click Unity SDK, it will download a file. You double click that file, and once that is done, you are good to go. All you have to do, you'll have this empty scene. You just go right here, echoAR, examples, samples, and you get this sample scene. The sample scene itself is empty. There's nothing here except for an empty game object with a place to plug in your API key. So I'm going to do that. So all we did, again, open a new Unity scene, double click the SDK. And then now in this empty scene, we're just going to add our API key. I'm going to press play, and that is it. We're going to see the same building, the same content that we just saw earlier streamed to the phone. We're going to see it here. So there you go. We have the building stream automatically in Unity. How cool is that? We have the building here. We also have the Fox, but the Fox is actually inside the building, if you can see it. So let's move it a little bit here. So let's do that. Let's put the building right here. Let's move the Fox, let's say, 10 feet away. So let's do x equals 10. Bam. We see automatically content is being streamed into Unity. The same thing that happened in the app. So all I had to do is add metadata, and then things automatically change. Let's maybe add some directions. Again, like we love the rotation, so let's do direction equals left. Whoops. Let's do direction equals left. There you go. Suddenly it starts to rotate it. When I stop Unity from running, you'll see that everything disappears. It doesn't actually linger in the device. And that's the cool thing about cloud connected applications, that the content isn't being stored in the device itself. The app is super, super small, and the content is being streamed from the cloud. Now that I press play again, voila, you're going to see the same content being instantiated in the application again, and you see that the same state is being preserved, right? The building is still rotating. The fox is 10 feet from the building. How cool is that? Like, this is something that we call a stateful content management system that basically remembers the state, remembers how the scene is being constructed. So definitely take advantage of that once you're building your application, that everything streams and everything remembers how it was earlier. So let's do, so we saw how we can interact with Unity. If there's any questions, again, feel free to write them in the chat. And again, everything I'm just showing you right now is available step-by-step guide in our documentation right here under Unity, how to install, how to use SDK, and so forth. So definitely check it out. Okay, so we know how to stream stuff in Unity, but now let's say we want to change things in real time. And now I'm going to do some coding, so definitely bear with me. Let's delete the building. Let's just keep the fox. And let's delete that content. Okay, so we have a fox right here being streamed. We can see the fox in our 3D scene. It's called Arctic Fox. What's cool about our SDK in Unity is that every single 3D model has a custom behavior script attached to it automatically. So that's a script that you can change and basically affect the interaction itself and affect what you're going to have in the scene. So what you see right now is a script in Unity format. It's C#. So if you know any other, if you know C# or any other object-oriented language like Java, you're good to go. It's pretty straightforward. It has two main functions that you need to know. One is called start. Evident by its name, that's the function that's being called on when the application starts. And then this code snippet is being executed. The other option that we have is the amazing function called update. That's a really important function that happens every single frame. Remember, you're coding in 3D now. That means that there's frames being rendered, there's animations, there's basically a long, almost like a long video being rendered on your phone. And the cool thing about that is like you can basically run a function, run a code snippet every single frame. This thing is almost like a while true function or an infinite for loop that happens every single frame. So you can add content to it and add actions, but again, make sure because it happens every single frame to take performance into mind. And if you bombard it with a lot of stuff, it can hinder your application because again, it happens every single frame. So don't put a while true loop inside a while true loop, right? It will never stop. Okay, so let's look at this code snippet. So here, for example, I'm going to add some other script to the entry. That's the script that makes sure that it rotates and scales and stuff like that. Here we have a code snippet that basically asks, does this entry has any additional data, any metadata on top of it? If it does have any metadata, let's see if it has a name, right? Like, let's say it has a key called name. And if it does have a name, let's set that to be the name of the game object. So let's go back here to our console. Let's add that metadata called name. So let's do name. What's a good name for a fox? Let's do Kevin. That's a good name. Kevin. There we go. And now we're going to press play. Now our script will figure out that there's a name associated with the fox. And there we go. We see that the name of the fox is now Kevin. Super, super easy. Let's change the name to something else. Let's say Sam. But wait, it stayed Kevin. Why is that? Because our function was in the start function. So only when we click start, it happens. So that's not a real-time change, right? So if I'll stop and restart the app, now the start function will be launched again, and the name will be Sam. Okay, but let's say we want to change that. Let's say we want to have those updates happen all the time. So let's go back to our code right here. And let's move this code snippet from start. Let's move it to update. So now this snippet of code will happen every single frame, right? Which means that we'll be able to query for the name every single frame. And if that name exists, it will change to the name of the object. So let's restart the application. Now our code snippet is in the update function. We'll see again the same state of the fox being called Sam. So let's see that. Perfect. Now we have Sam. But if we change it back to Kevin, boom, suddenly it's called Kevin, right? It changed in real time because we added in the update function. So take advantage of that. You're only limited by your imagination. You can have metadata and keys and values that can do anything you want. I use those for transformation, like scale, rotation, animation, movement, or name. You can do whatever. You can have features that you enable remotely, like true, false, if branches that will only run if the right data exists. So definitely, again, build it however you like and run with it. Any questions so far before I move into a more advanced coding example? Feel free to write in the chat right here. I'm going to delete this. It's going to disappear. Any questions so far? No? Perfect. OK. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to do another coding example, a little more complicated, but again, pretty simple. The thing I'm going to share with you now, it has its entire source code available here. We're going to do a COVID visualizer that basically shows different infection levels on different continents. So let's do that together. And again, the code is right here in our GitHub channel. So I'm going to upload another 3D file. Right now, I'm going to add a file instead of choosing it here. Or again, I can search if I want to. I search for globe, for example. I can do that. But I'm going to, for this case, I'm going to upload my own file. Just because you already saw, how you can fetch 3D files from our library. But again, you can do the same thing here. You see all these globes that we have. So I'm going to choose a file right here that will be a model of our glorious Earth. Let's do that. I'm going to press play right here. We're going to upload the same 3D file. Again, the same process we're already used to. We're taking those 3D files. We're going to convert, build, and compress them so it'll work anywhere. Once that's done, you're able to see the beautiful blue Earth right here. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to swap out the custom behavior script. So I just swapped it, and we'll go through it together. Here, let's add some. Let's make it scale to 2. Let's make it rotate because it's a globe, so it has to rotate. Perfect. And now let's go through what we have right here. So we have a new script, a new custom behavior script that basically has all these content names, right? It has almost the data that it's looking for and some dictionaries and some more data structures that I created. I already know that this expects to have these data entries with some information. So let's do that. Let's just add some information about all these different continents. So I'm going to throw it right here. So let's just randomly throw in numbers. And again, you can recreate the same experience with me, basically just like by using the same code. So I'm going to throw that here. Perfect. So we added some metadata that we know that the script expects to have. And now we are going to press play and see what's happening. And then we're going to go through the code. So I'm going to press play. And then we're going to see the buildings being streamed and the data being streamed. Look how cool this is. So now we have this code visualizer. We have the building being streamed. We have the globe being streamed. And we have all these bar graphs that shows every different continent and how much the infection level was there. Right now, these are mock data that I've been inserted, right? Just numbers randomly. But you can fetch data from, let's say, the WHO's website and then make these changes in real time and basically reflect COVID spread around the world with this application. Super, super simple. And all you have to do is like grab this data. So how did we create this application? So we already know how to stream the 3D model here, right? We just need to press play once we have the Unity echoAR SDK integrated. In our function right here, so we see the start function looks exactly the same as it looked earlier, right? I can change the name. It has the transformations being inside. But here in the update function, there's a lot more. So let's dive into that. So first I ask, is there any additional data? If there is some additional data, let's grab the scale additional data because we're going to use it. Or let's go through, for example, let's iterate through all the continents and see if the continent exists. Let's grab that value of that continent. If that value exists, let's parse it into an integer. And then let's create a bar graph based on that integer. So we can see if the bar graph already exists. just rescale it and reposition it. If it doesn't, create one. So for example, here we're creating a primitive cylinder in Unity. We're coloring it. We're giving it a name. We're moving it a little bit. We're scaling it based on the number that we got. We are transforming it. We're setting a text, for example, like the name of the continent. If it doesn't exist, we're going to delete it. So a simple code example, but again, super powerful to see how a few lines of code are able to create such an engaging experience in 3D. So we have this, again, if we can see that if I change, for example, let's check out Oceania, I'm going to change it to 10. Bam, suddenly the graph automatically became like really, really large. Or if I'll delete it completely, bam, that bar graph disappears. So again, super simple examples. But this is how you can like delete stuff, add content, and basically maybe later expand on this application and have this data basically being posted through our RESTful API. So instead of, let's say you can have a website, again, or like a web app that queries data and updates these numbers based on some external 3D library or external 3D data set. And again, the way you can do that, if you go to our documentation, you're able to see that you can post data through some RESTful API as well. Really, really simple, just with a few queries that you can have. Any questions so far, what we've done here? So let's recap. So we saw mobile, we saw web, we saw Unity, we saw surface detection, some image recognition. We saw how to use the console, how to add data, how to monitor the data, how to see inspirations, how to access the documentation, how to access example codes. Now I'm going to go back to the slides if there's no other questions, but if there are, feel free to write them in the chat. So again, recapping here. As a developer, you can choose any client-side FSDK, if it's Android, iOS, Magic Leap, HoloLens, you name it. You can use the console to basically upload and add content. We build, store, and deliver that content to headsets and mobile devices, web browsers everywhere. As a developer, you obviously save time and money to build your app backend. You don't have to hook up servers. You don't have to create network infrastructure. We stream that everything for you. Content creators need no technical skills, just dragging up a 3D model, and that's all. And companies can scale to an enterprise level, basically streaming data all over the world in a really, really engaging way. Now let's talk about use cases a little bit. So we saw the inspiration page, but we also talked about things like, again, like healthcare and interior design and games and shopping and ads. You can build so many really, really cool things in augmented reality that you're basically limited, again, only by your imagination. So definitely build really compelling applications. A little bit about us as a company. We're again, grateful to be backed by the most amazing investors in the US, if it's Techstars or Verizon or Imagine Ventures. We've been featured in all these different events. So definitely if you're in the next, once things go back to normal and you're coming to some tech event, definitely look us up and check if our team is there to say hello. We won a bunch of awards, but there's obviously some vanity metrics about the company. We'd love to say that a lot of people love to build applications across different platforms, and these are different horses on the track that we're trying to facilitate. We're trying to build, that track to help all these horses get to their destination. So definitely use Echo to build your application. As I mentioned, register for an API key today, or use the link to register for free to get our premium tier. Build a cool application with Echo during the hackathon. I'm so excited to see where you're going to build. And again, we have this sponsored prize for the ones that have built the best application. So definitely do that. This was Echo helping you build better AR/VR applications, growing your business, focusing on your product, and leave the service to us. Thank you so much for attending this workshop. I am super excited to see what you're going to build with Echo. Definitely share it with us. Definitely share it on social media. And again, there's a prize for the best AR/VR application that uses Echo. Thank you so much for attending. We're going to share the recording of this application. If there's any questions, feel free to write them here or in our developer Slack channel. So definitely say hello. Have a good one, everyone. Stay safe and healthy, and thank you so much for attending. Have a good one.